present Sanjay Mohan. I think he has a very interesting presentation for us today, probably on some stuff we've never seen or heard about before, but will hopefully help us with our own health. So welcome, Sanjay.
Thank you. And thank you to the entire Wellness Council, Department of Aging, and United Way for hosting us. Like she said, I'm Sanjay Mohan, co-founder of a small company called nestCARE, based between here in Milwaukee and Colorado Springs. I have also Sigward Bohr. He's my co-founder in Springs. Call here. We're just trying to figure out. Sig, can you hear me? Say something. We can't hear you. Let's see this.
You can't hear me.
There we go. Now we can hear you.
All right.
So like it always happens, Mr. Murphy does show up last minute, and he did this morning. So I will run through a short presentation. It's more intended to be a conversation. Would love to hear from you as well as you listen to what we have to talk about, what your thoughts might be, what comes to your mind when you hear some of these things. We know that health technology is evolving very, very rapidly, and sometimes it can be a little too much to grasp and understand. We're hoping that today, through our story, what we tried to do over the last 1 year, we'll be able to shed some light on not just what we do, but what some of the technologies that they might be out there and how perhaps you can make best use of them. Like I said, so let's keep this as a conversation. Hopefully, when you walk away from this, at least if there's one takeaway you'll have from here is that there's a lot that you can do as an individual to take ownership of health, as well as the friends and family network who can step in and not just rely on the healthcare system. The healthcare system has a very strong role, but as data suggests, they influence only about 20% of overall health. There's a lot that an individual has to do, and that's what our focus is going to be. But before we start, I'm going to throw out, they say humor is the best way to start the day, so I'm going to throw out some of my favorite cartoons on this topic. And these are relevant to us in a very big way. In fact, I find linkages to these in my own family and myself. So for instance, this particular one, till very recently, till we started nestCARE, I did not really have a clear understanding of blood pressure, and that's a very important metric for all of us, regardless of age. It's like the battery life on your phone or the gas in your tank, right? But most of us decide to ignore this and do not have a clear understanding of what it means. Here's another one. This hits home. This is in my family, right? Over a period of time, you know, when my mom's been taking a medication for forever, but over a period of time, she has forgotten what it's for. I don't know if you've noticed, most of the pharmacies around, when they give you your prescription, it'll have a complicated name on it. It'll have the expiry date. It doesn't say what is it for, and after a while, you kind of tend to forget why you're taking it, and some people choose not to take it. That's a huge issue in my family. This is my dad. This is so my dad, right? So he's supposed to walk a mile every day. He's 82. He has to shed some weight, and he chooses to do that mile in a 20 feet by 10 feet stretch. You know, try taking a mile walk in that stretch. No wonder he gives up after 10 rounds. I would feel dizzy, right? But the reality is, he thinks he's tired because he's exercised enough. Actually, he feels tired because he's a little lethargic. He's not exercising enough. And convincing him, motivating him, encouraging him to get out and take his walk is an important thing, which I feel I had a lot more influence or control on. I love this. In fact, talking about dad, he got a pacemaker installed recently. And the doctor actually configured it from his laptop via Bluetooth. Talk about technology, and I was sitting there thinking, I hope nobody can hack into that thing, right? But these little things which allow us to live longer are becoming more and more evolved from a technology standpoint, very complex. But it's also important to understand what they can do for us. But lastly, this one, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. We avoid the dreaded visit to the physician. In fact, we try to get to the doctor's office only when something's broken. And this has become a global phenomenon. Across the world, healthcare is a break fix. You know, you get to the doctor when something's broken and you get it fixed. In fact, there's a gentleman on our board of the company. He's associated with GE Healthcare. He says healthcare has become sick care. No longer are we taking proactive steps to keep ourselves healthy. We are relying on a system which will basically eventually fix something. That 4 or 5, while they are funny, but they are very much related to what we are doing as nestCARE. Let me go into, I love going into history, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how things have evolved. Some of this is hindsight as we started building nestCARE as a company. Some of this was data points which we knew of because both Sig and I have been working in the healthcare space or healthcare and insurance space for about 25 years each. There's a very interesting trend which is going on, and I'll ask you to look at the blue line. You probably can't see this very clearly. This is population distribution across various ages. So you've got less than 15, 15 to 25, and so on. This is how things were back in 1900. And that blue line kind of shows you a rough distribution of population across the world, right? And I want you to see how that blue line shifts over a period of time.
Thank you.
Right? I'll go all the way to 2000. You see how it's becoming more and more vertical. There's a different view which Census Bureau publishes, and that's even more telling or more compelling about what's happening to our population. Here it is. Start in 1900. This was.
Turn the lights off. I can't read.
Could be, yeah.
Some of the lights.
Let's see.
Is that better?
That's better. Yeah.
Just don't fall asleep on me. I might. So the yellow or the orange on the right is the female population. On the left is the male population. But this is how US was back in 1900. We were a pyramid. So this is percentage of population by the age sector. Less than 5, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and so on, all the way to 85 plus. Right? Here's what happened somewhere in 1950. Here's what happened in 2000. We are a lot more what I call rectangular. It's no longer a pyramid. And there are other countries in the world which are facing the same thing, or something even worse. Japan, any guesses what Japan looks like? It's an inverted pyramid. A lot of other European countries look like this as well. Now, I was reading somewhere, there's a very interesting behavioral shift that happened as part of this process. So somewhere here, when back here where it was a pyramid, the older adults, the elderly were revered, were respected. You know, they were the fountains of wisdom, and they had to be taken care of. And the tendency was that, you know, once you get to that point, basically everybody stepped in to take care of that person. Over a period of time, as this population shifted, something happened. Earlier, people used to inflate their age to gain respect in a community. No longer, right? I mean, look at the anti-aging stuff that's going on. We actually deflate our ages to fit into the community. There's a very subtle shift which happened. But the more important part was how society changed the family type. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, and this is important for our background of nestCARE. As the population was shifting this way, a few things happened. One, it used to be that employment was based on general skills. Whatever you knew, you worked on. It was not very specialized. It has over a period of time moved over to highly specialized skills. You know, you could be a automotive engineer, or you know, if you go into the medical field, you are not just a orthopedic surgeon. You are actually an orthopedic surgeon specializing in cervical surgery, even C5 through C7. That specific. Earlier, it used to be a lot more about who you knew, and now it's a lot more about what you actually know. It's not just that you approach Uncle Joe and he would give you a job. It's about, do you really have the skills to do the job required? We used to work where we lived, and this is a global phenomenon. Now we live where we work, and this is creating a dispersion in population which we are seeing everywhere. Earlier, the average incomes were lower. Now higher average incomes, and why is that relevant? In earlier, we found security in the extended family, financial security. But as the incomes grew up, the extended family perhaps was not that important. And that basically was the last thing. We moved from an extended family environment to a very nuclear family. Highly dispersed families. We're no longer next to each other. Across state lines, across country lines, across the world. And that's who we are. Sig and I, co-founders of nestCARE, tell you a little bit about us. We're not doctors, we're not healthcare professionals. We know enough about healthcare we've been in the consulting world for 25 years, so we know how those systems work. But we don't have a degree in healthcare. But who we are is, come on, work with me. Here we go. So I live right here, Milwaukee. My family's out in India, and I'm constantly trying to figure out what's happening out there. How, is mom taking her medication? Is dad taking his walk? How are their vital signs looking? I have absolutely no clue. If at 82, if he's out for a walk and he falls down, I don't know. And there's nobody around in my family who knows as well. Sig lives in Colorado Springs. He calls it God's country. We'll let him enjoy that. He originally comes from Norway, though, which is God's country. It's beautiful. And while his mom lives close by to where he's at in Springs, he's got an extended family in Norway, and he has a similar problem, trying to figure out what's happening out in Norway. Now, this was our tipping point. This was the point at which we said we need to figure out what to do with this. However, as we got into it, we realized that the problem is the same whether the person you are trying to support, your loved one you're trying to take care of, is halfway around the world or is down the street. The problem is the way the healthcare systems are structured and the way we interact with the healthcare system. There is no information available for somebody to help. We are a lot more reactive. We have data silos, and I'm going to talk about that, where you have to go through hoops to figure out what the healthcare system has in terms of data about yourself. So that was our genesis. This is who we were, and we started trying to figure out, well, what do we do to take care of our aging parents? So let's talk about why did we start this. I don't know if you have thought about this at all. There are 8,000 hours in a year. Generally speaking, we are sleeping for 3. So 5,000 we are awake, out of which we are spending maybe 2 or 3 with the physician or the doctor. That's it. So what the healthcare system knows about us is at the point of sickness, or the regular checkup. But we are doing so many things in the balance of 4,997 hours, which the healthcare system doesn't know about. We take decisions, we take actions which impact our health, whether it be adherence to a prescription regimen, whether it be an exercise regimen, whether it be hydration. You have a water bottle. You're hydrating yourself. How many of us this morning actually had 2 cups of water already? Show of hands. Maybe 50%, right? How many of us by the end of the day will have 8 cups? again 50%. But hydration, they say, is, if there are 3 things you can do, take your meds, exercise regularly, and hydrate. Everything else is not that important. But most of us forget about hydration. Social interaction is such a powerful influencer of health. We forget about that too, and that's getting worse, especially with all the technology, some of which we'll talk about. And the fact that what we were talking about earlier, where the families are getting dispersed, that's making it more difficult. It used to be that you just reach out to your son, your daughter, your grandson. These days, at least in my family, grandparents hardly ever see the grandkids. Obviously, there's a big geographical distance, but still, it's becoming more and more common, even people within the same country. So those 4,997 hours are so critical to manage in a way that we start looking at healthcare a lot more proactively versus reactively. And we were looking for something which would give us that ability so we could manage situation at home. Medication adherence is key. In fact, there was an incident where my mom is diabetic, and she was asked to recalibrate the insulin. She was asked to take sugar readings for 2 weeks, twice a day before meals, and most of the time she forgot. If she remembered, she put it down on a piece of paper, which eventually got lost. And none of this needs to happen, right? There is technology already available where you can adhere to either a medication plan or a measurement plan. So we were looking for something like that, which would allow you to have a goal-based view of what are some of the things that you need to do, whether it be hydration, whether it be medication, whether it be exercise, or just keeping track of digestion, for instance, right? We had a person who was her doctor had asked her to monitor heart rate because she had an anxiety issue. Now, there's no way to keep track of historical heart rate data very easily. It's not readily available. But if you had something, and you can next time you go to the physician and show the heart rate chart, that's powerful. So we were looking for something like that. Also, it was very important for us to look for a solution where you don't necessarily have to rely on going somewhere else. You could just be at home. Technology has reached a point where some of these things don't require you to go to the Walgreens or to the physician's office to get things done. You can just do it from the comfort of your home and avoid that unnecessary visit to the physician or the lab. And this point, which was healthcare versus sick care, right? And there are people here who are a lot more intelligent about this than I am, who can talk about this. But at the end of the day, there are so many things which influence health. The physician and the healthcare component is only about 20%, like we said, right? But the solutions available to us were not including the balance 80%. Everything that's available is focused around making that 20% a lot more effective and efficient. It's like using the tail to wag the dog. And then last, but the most important, data silos. Case in point, I have there's a girl who studies at Purdue. I'm her guardian locally, supposed to take care of her, and she was struggling with some headaches, because of which we had to go through some MRI scans for her and figure out what's going on. Her primary physician is at Purdue, but the scans were done here in Milwaukee. For me to retrieve that data and send it back to her physician in Purdue was a nightmare. It was just next to impossible to get it out. Whereas legally, there was all documentation available that I'm authorized to collect that data and pass it on. Well, that's an extreme example because we're not really related. I'm supposed to be taking care of her, but there's no relation. But talk about in the family. For us to have access to data, which we do today in physical world, we just talk to each other or share the reports. But what if it was easier? It was readily available all the time, either on your smartphone or your computer. That would make sharing of information a lot easier, and that would draw in the trusted healthcare advocates, the friends and family, in to help us take care of our health needs. Good news is, and some of these things you might have seen, there's a lot of technology becoming available in the market. There's a quote up there, Dr. Eric Topol, he's written a book called The Patient Will See You Now. And he talks about the future of medicine, which is highly dependent upon the proliferation of such technology, which allows you to do things by yourself, wherever you are. Don't need to drive a couple of miles into a lab or a physician's office. Some of these things, for instance, non-invasive glucometry. This is FDA just approved this. You don't need to prick yourself anymore to check your sugar reading. It's like a little pulse ox which clips on your finger, and you check your sugar readings. Great thing, especially for pre-diabetics. A lot of people don't like to prick themselves to find out, right? Now it's easily done. I love this one. Adherence to medication has always been a problem, and there is no foolproof way to check whether a medication has already been taken or not. This actually puts a little electronic circuitry inside the pill. Now, scientists have been working on this for some time, but the problem always was the battery for the circuitry inside, right? You don't want to swallow batteries. So they finally figured this out. This pill is powered by gastric fluid, something which is already inside you. That's what powers the pill and the circuitry, and then the circuit tells you, I'm inside, so that pill has been taken. This is awesome in terms of figuring out whether a medication was indeed administered or not, self-administered or not. I'm sure you've seen a number of these. These are alert systems you can carry with you. If you fall down, it alerts. People get lost, it alerts. Cuffless, non-invasive blood pressure monitor. FDA just approved this as well. So you no longer need to press a button and inflate the cuff to check your reading. It's actually a passive device which is on your wrist, and it'll give you the blood pressure reading right away. And then some. So a whole bunch. There's a balance testing app now, which if you just keep your phone with you, it'll test how your balance is and whether you're susceptible to fall. Lab tests are increasingly being deployed into homes. They've definitely reached your nearby pharmacy, so you don't need to go to a lab. You can just walk into Walgreens and take a kit and get it done. They're also started approaching home delivery of those kits as well. At-home sleep monitoring, it's been around for the longest time, but it's evolved now. It's a lot more, it doesn't look that daunting. It's a nice, sleek-looking devices with a nice app, and they monitor your information and feed the information back to the physician who wants to look at these sleep patterns. On-demand behavioral therapy on the phone available whenever you need to talk to someone. Location sharing, doctor finders. The amount of technology available is mind-blowing, and it's increasing. Every day that goes by, there's a new. I subscribe to what is called Med Gadgets, and they send me a newsletter every day. And every day there are 5 new things which they talk about, and it's crazy, and it's cumbersome. The key thing, though, while there's so much technology available, David Cutler from Howard talks about the power shift from the seller to the buyer. While the technology is available, the problem is, in our view at least, when we started building nestCARE, was everything was focused around the physician. It was not empowering the individual. And like we said earlier, you're away from the physician 4,997 hours. And that's a significant chunk of a year which you're away from the doctor's office. So why are we focusing on, it's not that the physician's role is not relevant, it's very, very relevant. But the other side is also equally important, figuring out ways in which we can empower the individual and their immediate family around or friends around is equally important, because they can then step in and figure out what needs to, whether a medical intervention is required or perhaps not required. That was our aha moment, saying nestCARE needs to do this. nestCARE needs to actually empower the individual, not the physician. So we as a company actually don't work inside the healthcare system, we work outside. And the goal would be that we make the individual more smarter and more empowered, but at the same time enable the healthcare systems to step in when the time is right. So let's talk about what can the individual do away from the doctor's office. This is the time we engage with the audience. Any thoughts? What can you do away from the doctor's office which keeps you healthier
I
longer?
guess, give blood. You can track your blood pressure and your pulse, and you can go up
Yeah,
on the, or even at your office to go to a website
absolutely.
and look at
Yeah.
comments and
Yeah.
test results. And
Yeah.
Health clubs, I guess, but
Yeah, absolutely. What else?
Get into with diets. There's always,
Eat right. Yeah. Eat healthy. Hydrate. There you go.
Sleep, get good sleep.
glass of wine.
Or more than one, depending on the day. Yeah, absolutely. So, and these are simple things, right? These are stuff that we can do. Question is, do we do them consciously? Can we form the habits to do them on a regular, consistent basis? And equally importantly, is the solutions available in a way that allows you to do it? For instance, you mentioned monitoring vitals. Well, for that you need equipment. And there are a few vital signs which are perhaps the baseline vital signs which are important, right? So you said blood pressure. Yes, you should monitor blood pressure, your heart rate. Weight is an important metric, a very, very important metric, and not just for, I need to lose some, not just for cosmetic reasons, but it's an important correlated metric against blood pressure for hypertension as well as diabetic patients, right? So weight, activity levels. For all these, you need some sensors or some devices which help you do that. If you go out and buy a basket of goods of these 4 devices, that's a lot of money. So there has to be some way to break that barrier down. Where so yesterday I was watching. I don't make it a habit, but I was watching Dr. Oz, and he was selling the Omron blood pressure instrument, right?
Yeah.
And basically said whoever's watching the show gets 20% off, and I think the Omron meter is about $150. Now that's expensive, right? Adherence to medication is very important, critically important, like we said earlier, right? If there's one thing you can do is, if there's anything prescribed, you adhere to that plan. However, there are challenges. We forget about it. Habits change. Sometimes there is inconvenience. We don't get the right reminders. We don't get the right encouragement to keep going. We forget what the medication is for. Managing overall wellness, hydration, exercise, sleeping on time, that's something we ignore so much. Just keeping track of digestion, pain levels, because those are important too, to see how they correlate to maybe some of the medication you might be taking. Just getting to a program which allows you to keep track of those various activities. Equally importantly, starting to learn. So, in our belief, unless you can measure something, you can't really manage it. And you would have heard that in various scenarios in other lives, right? So if you can get to a point where we can actually see the data yourself, not the healthcare system, which by the way doesn't look at the data till the next time you visit them, but if you have visibility into data which tells you, here's my medication schedule, except for those 2 times when I actually missed my medication, I took them. And oh, by the way, here's the outcome that I'm seeing vis-a-vis either blood pressure or heart rate or weight. Then you start learning. All right, I need to throw this switch to get to this outcome. That learning component is very important in any healthcare solution. And last and not the least is the key fact that nobody has to do it by themselves. There are people who have a vested interest in making sure that you are taken care of, and that may not be the healthcare profession. It's neighbor, family, friends who want to make sure that you are well, but then they don't have the ability to do so because they don't know what's going on with you. They don't have access to data, they don't have access to what your correct blood pressure should look like, or when should doctors be alerted if the blood pressure goes beyond a certain point, what that point is. They have no idea. So bringing them in into a small system which allows them to work with the individual is equally important. So what's nestCARE? It's a platform which does those 4 things that I just described. You could see, right, the build-up is coming to define what nestCARE is. We said, well, we need to pull all this together because it has to be holistic. We can't just go and sell a device which measures blood pressure and transfers that data to the doctor. We need to sell something which covers everything. It covers your vitals, your medication, your overall wellness, and the social aspect. Bring people into what we call a micro-social network. Some people who are your advocates along with you, who can interact with you while you're dealing with the health situation. So what do we cover? Blood pressure, oxygen saturation, pulse, heart rate, and weight. Those are the primary vital signs. We deliberately stayed away from sugar so far, but that's something we'll add down the line. And this will keep extending. The idea was to get something going very, very quickly. And then what we allow you to do is set up your own goals and schedules of measurements of vitals. Reminders, it's time to take your blood pressure reading. Set your own target levels and alert levels. What is the desired weight you want to achieve? And what's the weight at which somebody should know that it's not looking good, right? And then pulling in the healthcare advocates along with you. Medication, again, same thing, setting up your prescription baseline, giving you the right reminders at the right time, setting up alerts which allow people to say, hey, you missed last 3 statin doses, what's going on, right? On the wellness side, hydration, activity levels, sleep patterns, pain, digestion, mood, these are all categories which we try to track. Now, it might appear cumbersome, but then we are not saying you do everything, right? The goal is to start somewhere and slowly build up and do what's important for you. But we are very confident that the more holistic you make, the better the outcome in the end. And the last one being on the support side, you can bring in people who support you, or you could be a support member to others as well. And not all. So it's both ways.
Yeah, in today's world, there's caregivers, which is, if you have a loved one or older parent, it takes, a lot of time and it's stressing you as well.
Yes. And we've already found instances where people would like to invite their physician into the fold and make them the advocate. And as long as the physician agrees to do so, yeah, absolutely, they should. It's a different story that they may have 3,500 patients that they're looking at, so they'll have to figure out who are the 10 or 20 which I can participate with. But besides the point, you're free to invite whoever you want to. Maybe even your doctor friend out in New Jersey who can perhaps act as a sounding board to what's going on. But then use that group to share data and insights and communicate with them. So you communicate right there within nestCARE, chat with them, talk to them, down the line video call as well, and use them as a support tool, a motivation tool, as well as encourage them to take care of themselves. That's the totality of nestCARE. It covers all those aspects of health and wellness, from vitals to social, medications and all the wellness parameters thrown in the middle.
See, it beats my spreadsheet.
Sorry?
It beats my spreadsheet.
It beats your spreadsheet? Yeah, it definitely beats the spreadsheet, and I'll show you how very soon. Sig will help me. He's sitting in Springs. We'll show you how the tool actually works. So, quick summary. This is how we look at the definition nestCARE. The health data to us is so important. We believe that the individual can only get empowered if they have ready access to that information, and not through a downloadable spreadsheet from MyChart or wherever. It's a lot more than that. You have to have control on both the data that you're generating and how you're managing it. So owning your data and taking ownership of the health outcome is the most important aspect of nestCARE. Second, then you learn every day. You start seeing the correlations between what you're doing and how the outcomes are looking like. That helps you manage health and wellness. Bringing in the family and friends in a way to participate in the healthcare of the individual. They don't have to be siloed out. They're part of our lives. In fact, they should have easy access to it. We can allow participation from primary care physician as well. Like I said, it's already being done. People are encouraging their physicians to look at the data using the app that we've created rather than just looking at Excel spreadsheets or printouts. And then hopefully down the line get to a point where we can actually empower the physician as well to start making early diagnosis. I know there's data to suggest that rather than that patient-physician interaction at the point of illness, if we can somehow predict something and get that intervention a lot sooner, both the cost and quality of health would be much superior than where it's at today. So that's the goal of nestCARE which we're trying to achieve. So what we do is what we ship out in the box is the box is right here. It's got its 4 devices, but then we decided we are not going to sell this. We're going to give it away as part of the subscription. So you don't have to spend $250, $300 to buy a blood pressure meter or a scale or an activity tracker like this one or a pulse ox. We give this at $9 a month. And our goal is not to sell these. Our goal is for you to use them. So what we're trying to define as a program is consistent, regular usage, because the more you use, the more you're aware, and the more your healthcare advocates are aware, and the more the physician is aware of what's going on with you. So the emphasis is entirely on usage of this equipment rather than just buying something off. So there is the app, the devices, the support network, and the insights and knowledge. I'm going to play a quick video for you. This includes our board members, and hopefully you can hear easily. My parents live in India. I live half around the world. Given where they are in age, it's typically very difficult to monitor and manage blood sugar measurements or blood pressure measurements. My mom was asked to take sugar readings for 2 weeks, thrice a day pre-meals, so that her insulin could be recalibrated. And most of the time she forgot. And when she remembered to take the reading, she wrote it on a piece of paper, which eventually got lost. That really was the tipping point of me looking at trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And as I went about thinking about it, I realized I'm not the only one. There are lots of other people in the same boat. And here I was thinking, well, none of this needs to happen because technology exists today where you could simplify that process.
We are taking advantage of new technology to bring back some of the magic that maybe existed 60 plus years ago when families were close together and they helped take care of each other. And I think what nestCARE is basically a new version of that.
So nestCARE is a suite of tools, devices that measure your vital signs. It's an app for smartphones and tablets, and it's a community of people dedicated to managing the health and wellness of an individual.
When you start making a difference with one individual and their support network, it becomes population health because it's more than just one individual and one support network. It becomes a whole landscape of these groups.
We all spend, out of the 8,000 hours in a year, 3,000 sleeping, 5,000 waking hours, out of which we spend maybe 2 hours with the doctor. The doctor really doesn't know what's happening in our daily lives. nestCARE is a way for family and friends and neighbors to step in where the doctor cannot and review your situation on a regular basis.
When you think about it, today, healthcare, in a sense, it's really sick care. Meaning, what we know about people is when they are sick.
Where medicine is going is moving outside of the bricks and mortar space and into the home. And if we can participate in that journey and incorporate better self-management skills, incorporate the family member and the community that self-management skills, we can keep people out of the emergency department and keep them out of the hospitals.
It's a really powerful tool to educate people and empower them with knowledge to make better decisions. Not only can you help a person manage their health and wellness, you can also stay closer and connected to them as well.
What nestCARE can provide is an ability to reconstitute the nucleus of society by drawing in loved ones and people who care most about you and allowing you at the most critical time to have the most personal care. And nobody can provide more personal care than somebody who actually loves you. And this connects those two ends.
That was it. That's nestCARE. What we can do is quickly show you, if you're interested, how this actually works. Would you like to see that? Sure. All right. Sig, you ready? Where is he? You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. We're gonna hope and pray Mr. Murphy doesn't show up. Yeah. All right. I'm going to share my screen with you, Sid. Right, can you see that?
I see it.
All right, terrific. So I'll just quickly take you through. So when I get into nestCARE, it basically shows me, that's my home screen. It shows me everything that's scheduled for today. I can see a full calendar view. As you can see, I missed my water this morning. If I had, I would have gotten points for it. But my oxygen and weight is due. Pulse is due at 11. Hydration again at noon. I've got a statin due at 2 o'clock. Metformin is for sugar. Hydration again, and so on. And 10 o'clock, go to bed on time. So that's how I have set up myself. It doesn't have to be this way. You can set it up whichever way you want to. And it gives you the reminders at the right time. So if you scroll left and right, it'll actually tell you what needs to be done. There are 3 major sections, like I said. Vitals, these are the 4 things we are doing as of now, before we expand further. On the med side, we are tied into National Institute of Health's pillbox. So we have access to all the prescription medication available in the country. So you don't have to physically type in metformin, hydrochloride, whatever. As soon as you say METF, it will pull up and you can set it up. And you see that little shape? Like, I don't know if metformin actually looks like it. I don't take yet. But when the reminders show up, they not only give you the reminder, they actually tell you, take that yellow pill which looks like a little oval. And oh, by the way, it's for your sugar. So that's how the reminders show up. And on the wellness side, I've set myself largely for hydration and sleeping on time, but a whole bunch of things which you can set up. You're tracking your mood, eating healthy. Now, we don't want to get scientific about eating healthy. I don't want to do calorific analysis of the slice of pizza you ate, because data suggests that we know what's good for us. We don't need to break down food into how many carbs, how many proteins. We generally know. And it's okay to deviate once in a while because, hey, we have to indulge too. But what is more important is the right encouragement at the right time, that, get some proteins in the morning, have your milk or have some greens over with lunch. That's more important rather than saying so many calories of food. So socialization, like you talked about, and digestion. And the last part is really, which Sig will talk about, which is where you get into inviting other people. So if I click on support network, these are the people right now who can see everything that's going on in my life, except vis-a-vis the health side. Come on, Wi-Fi, move fast.
Murphy showed up.
Murphy showed up. Hold on. Okay, we'll skip that one. Maybe Sig will have better luck with that one.
I can screen share what I've got going right now, Sanjay, if you want.
Alright, let's do some measurements first very quickly. I've got my audio on, because that was important as well. And I had a reminder in any case. Maybe do it without the Wi-Fi?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but then I won't be able to show it on the screen.
Turn the Wi-Fi off and back on,
Turn the Wi-Fi off.
and then turn it back on.
Yeah. Okay, while I do this, Sig, why don't you share yours?
Alright. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can. I mean, the numbering is a little faint, but we can.
So what you're seeing right now is actually the homepage, if you will, if you're coming into nestCARE as an advocate. And it's a really simple way to help stay on top of all the folks that you ultimately care about or that you're connected with if you're a part of their support network. And even at a glance, you can see things, in the case of Sanjay, who actually comes across as Roger Waters, but as part of our testing, you're going to have to give us some leeway here, but I can see at a glance the days. How many alerts has he generated? How is his compliance to goals relative to vitals, meds, and wellness? Now, so this is a great view just to get started. I can quickly get a gauge of how things are progressing, and then if I tap on him and his details, actually what comes in is I'll be able to take a look at the very specifics of either vitals, the meds consumption and adherence, along with his wellness regimen. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe I get curious because perhaps I saw an alert around blood pressure or what have you. I'm going to come in and take a closer look at some of the things that he's got as far as measured results relative to vitals. And it looks like Murphy's still reappearing over here as well. Normally, this loads within a second. And I'll get a listing of all the different vitals that he's got. The same bug that's impacting Sanjay right now might be hitting mine as well. But
Okay, hold on. So let's tag team here. I'm back on live here. So I had a weight schedule. Let's do that first. Little caveat. So I had heavy breakfast. Whatever comes up here will discount by 10 pounds, right? Here we go. So it said weight schedule for 10 a.m. And when I clicked view on it, it brought me to this screen. I switch it on and step on the scale.
You weigh 186.7 pounds.
We don't want anybody to try and figure out what's written on the screen because sometimes these screens are small. So in everything that we do, there's an audible readout. So it kind of tells you what your readings are. And at this point, I record this measurement and it sits in your database. Let's try something else. Volunteer?
Sure.
All right. What is it doing?
Your blood pressure.
I know, right? It's probably going up right now because of Mr. Murphy. Hold on, give me a second here. Karen, maybe you should use your app. Alright, let's use, oh, you're not on Wi-Fi?
No, but that might be good.
Wi-Fi code was here somewhere.
Changes lives 12.
Changes lives 12? Okay.
Well, I'm just curious.
Changes lives 12.
Oh, very inspirational.
But that wasn't us. The
Yeah,
code-
that's United Way.
Yeah.
That's United Way.
Here we go. Back in business. Yes. Alright, so other than the scheduled measurements, because Karen doesn't have any blood pressure scheduled, I'm going to do an ad hoc one-time measurement. Yeah. Is it not paid yet? You've not set it up yet? Okay, so you don't have to do this every time, this is only once. Let's do it now. So switch it off. Okay. Hold on. Let me be ready. Alright, go ahead. You have it in silent? Too late, too late. Oh, that's fine. So it reads out your both your systolic and diastolic as well as the heart rate, which is captured out of that. You want to do it again? Good. Oops, I pressed record. 1 second. It's probably a server, something's going on. So that was the vitals part. Sig, I'm going to switch back to you at this point.
Okay. So, are you guys having any success taking readings?
Yeah, but it's slowing down for some reason.
So, I actually flipped over. If you guys can still see, wait a minute, you're probably just seeing me now. Let me share the screen here. So, you're seeing essentially the equivalent of what Sanjay showed a minute ago, but for me, I've got this set up with various measurements that I do throughout the day. I'm looking at the vitals, and I'm actually going to take and record a one-time activity, as you heard Sanjay a second ago. In this case, I'm going to do a blood oxygen reading, and we're going to basically take the reading. You're going to hear the readout, and hopefully Sanjay will be able to look at that result when it comes in, because I believe you're part of my support network as
Yeah.
well. that's the Siri-friendly version of what happens every time you use one of these devices. Now, a couple of things that might be worth mentioning. All the devices that we have are what's considered consumer grade. They're the kind of things that you can go and probably buy the equivalent of, in most cases, down at either Walmart or Walgreens or your local store, etc. It is possible that you're going to see a reading and you're going to say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't feel quite right. Maybe the device didn't get that right, and so I'm going to go ahead and take it again. And so even when you are in one of these steps where you're recording a vital, etc., you have that final decision to say, I'm going to go ahead and record this one because, yeah, it probably is accurate. Or if you really know that this isn't accurate or you suspect, you could actually click on take again and take another reading. That's something that is not unheard of in the consumer world. In the clinical environment, they probably would never do that. There's also the difference between a $1,000 piece of equipment and a $100 piece of equipment. So just an FYI. So I just took that ad hoc one-time activity. I got a reading of my blood oxygen, and you can do that for any one of the vitals that we record right now. So Sanjay, are you able to see
Yep.
that?
Going in now, hold on.
Sanjay, it's something with the Wi-Fi, because when I take it
Yeah.
off, it's instantaneous.
Oh, as soon as you take it off. Now it's not loading on Wi-Fi, so.
I have a sneaking suspicion, and I hate to do this, but I have a sneaking suspicion I know why we're seeing this forever loading.
Oh, there we go.
My screen is bigger.
Just popped up.
We're in the middle of moving all of our, I guess, alpha testing, all the folks who
What
have
did you just do?
participated in our
Minoxidil?
early testing, all of that data is being moved from a internal production environment to the final production environment, literally over the past 2 days, along with the coming 5 days. All that data is being moved. I suspect that's impacting at least some of the performance that we're running into. But let me show you a little bit about how you can actually see the data. So if you're still able to see my screen, am I still screen sharing with?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So I just took a reading today on the 16th for my oxygen level, and here it is. It's already there. This is the same report that could be visible to anyone in my support network, obviously to myself as well, and it will show relative to what's an alert level, what's my target level, if I fall below it, what's the concern. Anything that's above those lines that you see as far as oxygen saturation, that's good. And similarly, if I started taking some oxygen saturation readings that started getting into the mid and low 80s, that would obviously be a major cause of concern. True for anything that we support within nestCARE, whether it's vitals, meds, wellness activities, and so on. Yes?
Yeah. So I think we should stop there. Mr. Murphy will conveniently blame on Murphy. Plus, we've taken a lot of your time already. I know you have one more agenda item to cover. Happy to answer any questions at this point that you might have. Oh yes, please, absolutely.
Maybe because I couldn't hear everything. Is this system interactive? So, I mean, while I'm taking these measurements, can my doctor be seeing them at that time?
If he is in your support group, yes, he will see it right away. So the way this works is you have to invite whoever it might be. If it's a physician, it's a physician.
Okay.
You have to invite them to be a part of your group.
Okay.
They have to accept your invitation too. We can't just assume that since you've invited, they are ready to participate. So, and that becomes relevant for physicians especially. So, but as long as they've accepted your invitation, they will have access to. And oh, by the way, you choose whether you want to show them the data, or you want to show them any alerts which might get triggered out of the data. For instance, I might choose to only show Mike anytime I have missed my medication more than 3 times, send an alert to Mike. Or if my weight goes above 200 pounds, let him know. But otherwise, don't let him know anything else, right? So that control is with you. And once you have given that, anytime you do, you check your blood pressure, it will immediately show up on his side that, okay, blood pressure is this.
I noticed that you're using a smartphone, right? Is a requirement to have such a phone?
So it can work off your tablet or a smartphone. Those are 2 things which you can work on. Some of this functionality is also available on the web, but the problem is these things, so like pulse ox, you necessarily need a smartphone you need a Bluetooth to work with these. So you need the smartphone or a tablet.
You need Bluetooth technology.
Yeah. So either a tablet or a smartphone is ideal.
You're trying to, this is something you want the elderly to be using, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about cost for a phone like that? And as the older generation, we did not have the background in technology that the people today, they've had it since they were in grade school. We've only had it while we were working. So their ease of using this stuff is not, and understanding it, you're going to cause blood pressures to go through the roof.
Great point. So what are you using, sir, right now?
All I don't have I guess it is a smartphone, it's an Android.
Yep, that works. So I don't know if you'll believe this, but a simple smartphone like that, so if you look at smartphone penetration in the 65 plus market, it's currently at 54%. So people have it. Now, your point is still valid because you may still not be very comfortable with using that phone, except for calling someone and
All
talking
I
to
use
someone.
it for is
Right?
calling and texting.
Right, exactly. And for that, so there's a dedicated help desk, 1-877-7-MINEST, based out of Utah. And what they do for us is really help you work with the app and the devices. So technically, we've designed it in a way that it's very easy to use, and we send out instructions which tell you how to go about doing it. So hopefully that should be adequate. But if not, there is a dedicated support team to actually help you do it too. And what we have seen in our test groups, so our test groups range from 40 years to 72 years. After using it for 2-3 times, after that it becomes very easy. The initial barrier we will help you overcome both on the setup side and the use side. But the smartphones are out there. It's at 54 right now, and we keep increasing, right? Because there's a new 65-year-old coming every day. Who's been used to using these smartphones.
And what is the cost for setting this up?
So we give the devices on a subscription. The devices are yours. It's $9 a month. 4 devices, and they use it in the app. Unlimited ability to add support network people, all the analysis insights, everything's at $9 a month. There's a setup fee which we charge, but beyond that it's $9 a month. And anytime if the device breaks, we replace it at no charge. And device is always yours. Even if you cancel it eventually, those devices stay with you. You don't take them back. And the whole idea behind doing that was, like I said earlier, we didn't want people to worry about buying $250 worth of devices. So we figured out a way to work with our suppliers in a way that we negotiated the prices in a way that we can give these out. Now, keep in mind, 2 of these devices are FDA certified because we are required to make them certified. So blood pressure instrument and pulse ox require an FDA certification. they're already cleared FDA, so they are in that certification band. And so while they are consumer grade, they are highly reliable and reasonably accurate devices.
Yeah, as a former caregiver, folks that have ALS or MS, this would be a great tool. No, they can't do it, but I would do that for them. Is there any like a discount or consideration for those folks? With software? For example, you connected with the ALS Association, okay?
Right.
I'll give you a deal or something, I don't know.
Yeah. So, great question, and we are 1 year old.
Okay.
We're trying to figure those out. So, for instance, I can tell you discounts via AARP, AAA. I mean, all that's in plan. We need to establish those relationships. There's a healthcare. It's actually a medical college out west in Spokane, Washington. They have affiliated clinics. They have taken interest in nestCARE. Their logic is somewhat similar to yours because care providers, especially for people who are distributed far and wide in remote areas of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, the nearest physician might be 100 miles out. So for them to deploy a physician out is very difficult, and expect the patient to come in every time is difficult too. So we are working out a mechanism by which when they deploy to their group, there's a discount code associated because it's their patients. The only thing there is that clinic will then say to the consumer or the patient that we need to be part of your group. The way we have structured nestCARE is the choice is yours. Whether you want to include the physician, it's entirely up to you. So, but when we do these kind of relationships, it will so happen that they will insist because they are monitoring chronic diseases, for instance. So they will need to know. They will need to be part of that. But that's where, to your question, the discount codes and stuff are still coming. We need to get out the door and start getting some adoption before we establish those discount codes.
Yeah, again, with Social Security,
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
in the works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Listen.
Yeah, I live in a building where a number of people are low income, and this would be additional burden or expense that they would not participate in. But many of them have HMO programs, and I'm wondering if you have considered working with HMOs as providing a service for their clientele.
Yeah.
I would think this would be a way to reach the lower income people.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Not HMO yet, but I see DD here from American Heart Association. We're trying to work with AHA to deploy in some of the high-risk low-income zip codes as well, in partnership with perhaps some of the larger organizations here. So that's definitely something we're trying to keep in mind. Well, thank you for being a great audience and hearing us out. Hopefully you found this useful. If you need more information, we are not a .com extension. We don't like to call ourselves nestcare.com. It's mynest.care. That's how you find us. And if you liked us, and even if you don't, as you step out, do grab a shirt. Hopefully you'll probably wear a nestCARE shirt as you walk. Tomorrow is a beautiful day in Milwaukee, 50 some degrees. So there are ladies' shirts which are a different cut, and men's and various sizes.
You have a business card?
Absolutely, we'll be happy to do that. Thank you. Appreciate it.